ado, welcome to another edition of Free Marketing Tuesdays. I'm your host, Mo, and as always, each and every Tuesday, we come to you with marketing ideas and strategies to help you grow your business. Today is a very important Free Marketing Tuesday for us because we're going to be talking about a very fundamental, yet really the most important topic or the most important tool that you can have in your real estate business, and that is a database. Now, I talk to real estate agents who have been agents for a number of years, and they still do not have a database after years and years of service in the real estate industry. And it's very mind-boggling to me because without a database, how can you function? But before we get into the 3 reasons on why you need a database, let's first talk about what a database is. Now, I went to Wikipedia and just looked up the definition for database / customer relationship management software, which is CRM. That's a commonly used phrase in today's industry. And simply, as businesses learn more about their target audience to best cater to their needs. And with the CRM or database, at the end of the day, it's nothing but your business's little black book in the cloud. It allows you to capture contact information for prospects that are either new, as well as referral partners that you may have worked with over the years, and then people that you have done business with. If you remember as a youngster, I know I do, growing up, my parents, we didn't have the internet, 20 years ago. So growing up, my parents had a little black book in our junk drawer. That's where they had phone numbers and addresses of cousins that we only would see once every other blue moon. But if they needed to contact them for any reason, maybe somebody was having a baby or maybe someone had unfortunately passed, they were able to reach into that black book and contact them. And that's what a CRM database does for your business. So let's turn into the 3 reasons on why you need one. So a lot of us do a lot of advertising with Zillow, Realtor.com, various different lead sources. And we're doing so obviously because we got to get the wheels going. We got to get everything going. We got to get the phone to start ringing, emails to start coming in. But if you sit back and you think for a minute, and if you're honest with yourself, majority of those folks are kind of sort of kicking the tire, and they're not ready to immediately either jump into the market to either list their home or to sell their home. Typically, statistics will tell you that's about 5 to 10%, depending on what statistical source you're looking at. And so if you think about it, as the typical real estate agent, only being focused on people who are looking to buy or sell today, a lot of leads just kind of fall to the wayside. Hey, give me a call back when you're ready to buy, or give me a call back when you're ready to sell, will be the typical conversation that you would have if someone's not ready. Well, with your database, first off, for those folks who are calling you about potentially listing their home, they may want to get a CMA, you can capture their information. You can ask them just some basic survey questions. The most important being, well, I understand you possibly aren't looking to sell today. You just want to get a feel for what homes are selling for. When do you think you might be looking to list your home? And you can make that note in your database, and you can simply make a reminder within your database to follow up with that potential seller during that time frame. Someone says they're looking to sell within 6 months, that being the upcoming summer, you simply set a reminder to follow up with them in 3 or 4 or 5 months. Same thing on the buy side. You do buyer workshops. Maybe you're running a first-time buyer campaign and you're doing some workshops at local community centers, etc. Everyone who comes to that workshop is not going to be ready to jump into the market today, right? A lot of times they're kicking tires, trying to get information, really trying to get over the fear of making a purchase like a home, because let's face it, that's most folks' biggest purchase throughout life. Well, if you're able to capture their contact information, email address, etc., and simply set reminders to follow up with these people, that will be transformative with your real estate business, because your database now serves as your in-house lead system that enables you to systematically follow up with people. So when you get up in the morning, you got your morning coffee, you come down, you go to Facebook, you see, oh, hey, there was a new post from the Mo Show, great. Now you know where to start. You know where to pull off from in terms of who to make calls to today, this week, who to send an email address out to, who to send a direct mail piece to, etc. Your database transforms your business and enables you to have a starting point each and every day that you get up and you start to market your business. So with that being said, guys, I want to open up the floor, and I want to talk to you guys about why do you think so many real estate agents do not have a database? What do you think are the reasons? What are the fears that are holding some of our fellow real estate agents back from not having a database? So I'm going to bring our longtime follower in Janet Nation on the line. Miss Janet, how you doing today?
I'm good, Mike. How are you? How was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. It was good. I got a little bit of cabin fever. I got two small kids, 6 and 3, and to have them on my heels, for 3 or 4 days straight, got to be a little bit much. But yeah, I did get caught up on some movies, and it felt good not to work for a day or two. How about yourself?
Yeah, it was. I was actually really tired because I did have that client appreciation event the day before Thanksgiving, and then Thanksgiving Day itself, I still cooked. So I was a little bit burnt out, but
okay.
I had maybe like Sunday to recuperate totally. So
Gotcha.
I'm back to normal, I think.
There we go. So I know you're very opinionated on this topic, and I'm glad we got you on first. Why do you think so many agents do not have a database?
I think the reason why so many agents don't have a database is because they don't run their business like a business. It's the perception out there is this is a get-rich-quick scheme business. You realize that once you're in that it's not quite how it works. And I don't think really as real estate professionals that we are really trained to look at our what we do as an actual business. And, it's kind of like, for many, you get up in the morning, you go to the office if that's where you're going, or you're working from home, and it's where the wind blows them for that particular given day. But I just really think that we're just not really taught to think, and which is obviously is a major problem, because for me, for example, I get the bulk of my business from my database. And you know what? I have to tell you, when I started 12 years ago and I had these brokers, and they would always say, you need to do your marketing, 80% of your marketing and the dollars that you spend should be with the people that you know. And I blew them off. I didn't believe them. It didn't make any kind of sense to me. But years later, I found that to be the truth. So so this is something that has been going back for many years. And I think you have to, maybe for some people, you kind of have to, you don't believe it. You don't believe it. But it really, really is true to have a database and to be in consistent contact with them, whether it be, monthly, quarterly, to be in consistent contact with them is going to validate who you are as a real estate professional, and also remind them that you exist. So I just think it's just lack of education, really.
And
lack of education.
You brought up a good point, and it's funny, and I'm learning this about life. It's really that simple. What you said, those brokers told you many, many years ago, start a database and work that database, because, the more people you get to know, the more people you know, and the bigger your database will grow. And that's simply what a database is. People think that it's really something different than doing all this Facebook advertising and postcards, et cetera. No, you only do that to grow your database, because the more people you have in your database, the easier it becomes for you to grow your business sustainable over the course of time. It's that simple. It's really that simple. So, Jan, did you have anything else to throw on top of that in terms of why you think real estate agents don't have a database before we move on to another caller?
A little bit lazy too. You know, it does take time to put that database together. It's not easy because you need to get their name, you have to get their address, you have to get their email address, you have to get their telephone number. And I'm just talking about the basic stuff, not when it's their birthday and stuff like that. That is extra, and it's great if you can get that. But it is time consuming. It is time consuming, and I think also, you know, I'm on other Facebook pages where this question has come up. Well, what do I say to them? Why am I asking them for all their contact information? So, again, it's, you know, also like feeling uncomfortable to ask, you know, for the missing data that you're looking for to create a database is probably also another factor why, you know, agents don't do it. But I think really as professional, our business is about our database. It's the number one priority. If you have no database, you have no business, because basically otherwise, you know, you would just be working transactionally. You know, you get one transaction and you never see or hear that from that person again because you're not in touch with them. And that's a much more harder way to work and a slower way to get you to where you want to be, if at all, if it's going to get you where you want to be. So, again,
Absolutely.
Just not understanding and realizing, and I was there.
Yep.
Like I didn't believe it. I'm like, you kidding me? These people are not going to want to do business with me, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, I was young and stupid and didn't listen to my brokers, you know, highly successful. They're still around today, expanding by the second. And I'm not with that company anymore, but, you know, you should listen to people who's been there and done that.
Yep. Cool. So I'm going to go around the table. Thanks, Janet, as always. So we have a new caller, Mo. You're on with the Mo Show. If you'd like to make any comments on database, why don't you think more agents have databases, Mo? Mo, you there? All right, we'll come back around to you. All right, so going on to a phone number ending in 4811. 4811. Why do you think more agents don't have a database? You're on with the Mo Show. Phone number ending in 4811?
No, I want to talk.
All right, and we got Joe. Joe, you're on the line with the Mo Show. How come you think more real estate agents don't have databases, Joe? All right, again, if any of you guys want to chime in, just make sure you hit *6. Miss Janet brought up a very, very excellent point on database and us being lazy, and I agree with her totally. And I think that we think there's more to it than what it really is. A database, again, to make it in very simple layman terms, is nothing but an Excel spreadsheet. To get real layman, and I'm bringing up Excel for those folks who are watching, it's simply an Excel spreadsheet where you are going to keep track of name, phone number, and going back to the example and analogy earlier where we talked about the little black book, well, back then there was only one address to keep, right? That was a physical address besides a name and a phone number. Well, now you just have more addresses to keep. So you got an email address, you may have a LinkedIn profile address or URL, or a Facebook profile ID to keep a track of. And that's if you want to go that far. Our recommendation, real estate success, school success, keep it simple. I think name, phone number, email address, and a physical address is more than enough to start out with in your database. And then also you can simply keep track of information such as birth dates, anniversary dates, anniversary time of when they may have actually bought a house with you. But the point is, keep it simple, folks. An Excel spreadsheet. You already have this. And if you don't have an Excel spreadsheet, because it no longer ships on all PCs like it used to kind of back in the day, simply just go to Google and do Google Sheets. Google Sheets is an Excel spreadsheet software from Google that is 100% free, looks and feels just like Excel spreadsheets for those who are familiar with that platform but may not have it on their PC currently. Simply go here and you can do the same thing. Just start a blank sheet, put some headings up top on name, email address, phone number, physical address, and then this will start to be just your basic database. Now, how do you start filling this up? Well, you start with your cell phone, add information in here on people that you know you want to include in your real estate marketing, as well as all those emails that you'll get from being signed up with Zillow or Realtor.com or many other leads, third-party lead sources. You get an email that has a person's name, their phone number, generally an email address, as well as a property address. Well, just take a little bit of time, copy and paste it into your newly found super-duper basic database, your Excel spreadsheet, so that you can then just have some way to follow up with people. And even if you only have a name, phone number, and email address, just make a last column for last contact date. Now, with last contact date, that simply gives you a way to track when was the last time you talked to this person. So like what Miss Janet said, when you get up in the morning, you have to go to the office, or you sit down in your home office and you open up your database, you can see, all right, based on my last contact dates, who do I need to give a call today? An Excel spreadsheet will work just that simple. So we got a couple of new callers who just called in on the line and want to make sure that we answer questions and get you guys talking about the need for a database in your business. We have a caller from 4811. You're on with the Mo Show. Any questions on database? 4811. All right, coming back to Miss Janet. Miss Janet, you're back on with the Mo Show.
Okay.
A question for you, and this is an interesting conversation and partly why I laid out today's call and even this whole entire week about the need for a database. You and I had an offline conversation a couple of weeks ago where you went to a brokerage sponsor, at your brokerage, a training on database. How many people, if you could just relay that conversation back to our audience, how many people, percentage-wise, didn't have a database but yet had been in the business for a number of years?
I would say probably 90% of the people didn't have a database.
And this is a room full of
real estate
experience, quote unquote, real estate professionals who've been in the business for a number of years.
Right.
Wow. And to your point earlier, when you don't have any kind of direction or anywhere to kind of go to, fish for leads, you end up blowing in the wind. Why do you think more brokers don't do training for showing agents how to build databases?
Not to be disrespectful, they know better themselves, really. In terms of that, because that is something that you would definitely want to tell your agents to do. So
Absolutely.
Anyone can be a broker. That's easy. Easy too, just a few more hours of training. Anyone can be a broker. But it's again, I understand why it's not done, but because it's not really, when you start off in the business, and I'm sure this is true for most people, when you start off in the business, your broker will tell you to, call on expires and the FISBOs and knock on doors and do open houses maybe shadow someone in the office. But they don't talk about establish a database.
Well,
establish a database of the top 100 people that you know, or as close to it as possible. They don't talk about that. That's really onesie twosie might like my one did, but that's not something they don't start the agents in the right direction to begin with. The funny thing is, they have everyone's database, like all the agents, all the sales that they made, or the agents that, the sale that the agents made in the office, they kind of have, especially the franchise, they hold on to that, which I despise,
Let me chime in here for a minute, because you brought up a good point with FSBOs and expired listings. And see, I think that even when those folks who are targeting like FSBOs or expired listings, either as a seasoned agent or a new agent, that those phone numbers, those records, the name, email address of even expired listings and FSBOs that you've collected via some source still should go into your database. Because guess what? You may have contacted that FSBO or that expired listing, and if you don't have any kind of systematic way of following up with them, then the effort to collect them goes into the waste bucket. And so that's why the database is even so very important. It's the foundational piece. It's like your home. You have a bedroom, a kitchen, you have a kid's playroom, and even sometimes a movie theater, but it's all under one roof. And that's the same way with your real estate business. I'm Ms. Jen, I'm going to pull away. I got a couple other folks who have been chiming in on Facebook that I want to get in. Mr. Michael, I think I may pronounce the last name wrong, Premier, but I want to bring you on to the Mo Show. How you doing? I know you commented on a bunch of stuff on Facebook. You're on with the Mo Show. How you doing, sir? Hello? Can you hear me? All right. Oops. Still moving on. Michael, you there? All right. We're going to move on to another caller. We got a 754-224 caller. You're on with the Mo Show. I want to talk to you about databases and why you think real estate agents don't have one. Hello? 9792. All right. Joe, you're on with the Mo Show. Joe. Hello, Joe. All right, so moving on. What I want to do is just share with you guys a couple of glory stories, and I'm going to ask Miss Janet to share one as well, so to be thinking about, just a time where your database really paid off. Because here's the thing, guys. I think you don't really see or understand the benefit of having a database until you can possibly hear of an example of someone using the database to win. So I give you an example, and I'm going to make an announcement about my real estate career going forward, but to kind of chime back in or to go in the past for those who don't know a lot about me. So in 2005, I was a licensed real estate agent, and I never got into the listing side of the business. I'm primarily focused on investments. And as a part of that, I was involved with a group called Homevestors, one of Atlanta's top homevestors. This guy by the name of Mike Maldonado. He's a big agent here in Atlanta, but he does a lot of work on the investment side. And I was working with him basically as an agent, but focused on investments. Had this one deal that had been working. A young lady who was looking to sell her home. It needed some repairs, but it was a house in an excellent part of Atlanta, East Cobb, and the home needed some work. I went in for a listing presentation, and at first she didn't sign. She wasn't ready. And that's what happens with our buyers and sellers today. But because at the time we were working in the database, after my appointment, weeks later, I set a time to call her back. and she was ready to sign. Now, it may not sound like a big deal, but you have to think about these were investment deals. This was a neighborhood called East Cobb. This lady had a 4-bed, 2-bath house on the basement. All it needed was some major cosmetic work. I got my commission on the deal. Michael and his team fixed the property up and made $80,000, right? Simply because that lady's contact information was in our database so that we could continuously follow up with her until it was a time that she was ready to actually make a deal. Because when I first went to the home, she wasn't ready. And so that's the power that a database provides for you. And so if you don't have a database, you can't capture the gold that was possibly set on your table but just wasn't ready yet. That database allows you to do that. So I'm going to, again, I think, Ms. Janet, you mentioned you primarily have gotten your business from your database. Tell us this one quick story on when your database was glory for you that it produced.
Yeah, I can remember back in the earlier years, and that's when I realized the power of the database was I had gotten a lead, and my database was somewhat haphazard, but I had one. And I had gotten a lead, and we probably spoke once. But I didn't put people in my database if I didn't have any kind of conversation with them. So I had stuck her in my database. And, you know, she was just there with everybody else. And once a month, you know, I would send out, you know, material, you know, via email. I think it was always via email because I didn't have addresses for a lot of these people.
Okay.
And then one day I got a phone call from a nurse, and she said, you know, Janet, you've been sending me things for 2 years now, and I'm ready to buy a house. So I met her, and, you know, she did purchase a home through me, and that one lady to date has given me 4 referrals. All of have closed. They're all her fellow nurses. They have all closed, and that's not to mention those individuals themselves that have given me referrals. So
let's do this for a second, Janet, because I really want to break down, you know, like what you capturing a name, a phone number, and an email address for one client really meant to your business. That was 5 deals, her plus 4 more. So a typical home in your area sells for what? Just a typical kind of, you know, my wife and I just getting started. We have 1 or 2 babies, and we're nobody super special. We live in a regular, average, everyday American home in this part of town. About how much does that go for?
Anywhere between $400 and $450. The typical.
All right, so let's do your market. So let's just say $400,000, right? And a typical commission, obviously, it's going to fluctuate depending on the time and et cetera. But a typical commission for 1/2 of the transaction is what? 2.5%, 3%?
In my market, 2%.
2%. So 2%, right? That's $8,000 times 5 deals. That's $40,000 in gross commission. That's $40,000 in gross commission income to you. Of course, you have some expenses with maintaining that highly expensive email platform that you use that you probably paid nothing for. But capturing that information generated $40,000 of business, roughly, for you, roughly.
But it actually captured more than that because those individuals also gave me referrals. So it was actually it was actually more than that. So this is why this thing just works so beautifully, because it's just like a spider, you know, with legs or webs, and it just springs in every direction. Even if she's given me 1, you know, her referral possibly could give me 2. You know, that referral could possibly give me 3. It just goes on, and all these people are in your database. It's much more powerful and simpler than just trying to get that miscellaneous transaction off the street. and don't
absolutely.
follow up with them. Do you know, and this is a fact, that most sellers, when they reach out to a real estate agent to sell their home, the number one reason that they do that, they like the agent that sold the home to them, but they lost contact with them. They were no longer in contact with them.
Exactly.
And that is an actual fact.
Doesn't get any simpler than that. So, Miss Jenny, I appreciate that glorious example. I'm going to go over to another one of our callers here. Joe, I got you on the phone with the Mo Show. How you doing, Joe?
Hi, good. How you doing, Mo?
Oh, man, I can't complain. Glad you're on the show with us. So what's your input on why real estate agents don't have a database? Talk to me.
Starting a database is pretty daunting in general. I'm a fairly new agent, been doing selling about a year. I don't have a ton of sales under my belt, but I came from the entertainment industry, so I know a lot of people in the Denver area, and I just feel like I have a stack of people that I know, right? And I started making my database about a month ago, and I was just, it takes time to just start plugging away. So, Janet, you're right. People are kind of lazy a little bit, and it is kind of daunting, and you have missing pieces. Sometimes you only have a name or a phone number, and it's hard to ask people for their email address. We live in an age where people get spammed left and right, so nobody wants to give out any address. So I think you deal a little bit with that. But one thing I'm starting to realize is I'm not really taking advantage of my entertainment friends, because when you're in the entertainment industry, people like to know as many people as you can, and what took me a while to understand is I think they would like to refer me out, because people in that industry like to connect people, and they take credit for connecting. I would be proud to hook up two friends, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, basically, where I'm at with my database personally is I have about, 300 or 350 names, numbers, emails, and I actually have not sent out my first email yet. So my question that I need advice from you guys is, what would be the best way to announce myself as a realtor to all of my database?
All right. So
and ask for referrals.
All right. So easy question, right? First off, do you have a database that you use for your email campaign, or the email campaign that you're getting ready to set up?
Yeah. So I am with Berkshire Hathaway, so they have those marketing platforms for me.
Okay, cool.
I haven't gone through to look for any certain templates or anything like that. I don't really want to send out a Christmas template saying, "Hey, I'm now a realtor," and things like that. So.
All right. So two quick suggestions, and I appreciate you for chiming in. To make the announcement to your database, simply just be yourself. Be honest. Think of it as you were at the bar with a buddy, or maybe over a friend's house for a holiday dinner, and that question comes up. Hey, man, so what are you doing nowadays? And so you just talk in that same tone to your audience. Hey, Mike, this is Joe. Just wanted to reach out, say happy holidays. Maybe we hadn't talked in a while. Love to hear what you have going on, but just wanted to give you a quick update. Recently started my career as a real estate agent. Things have been going great. By the way, if you have any friends or family members who might have a need for some input on some real estate matters, I'd love to have the opportunity just to talk with them, so please feel free to refer. When you get a chance, give me a call. I'd like to catch up with you. My wife, Susie, she just started a new job. Here's a picture of the kids, etc. If you're trying to contact, these are all people who have just personal contacts with you that you gathered prior to your real estate career. Just that simple, personal. Hey, how you doing, man? Here's what I got going on. And then, too, here's where I think it would if you do that email announcement and then you follow it with a phone call, right, that's when the glue starts to stick. And so somebody may have saw it, and you'll be able to tell via the email platform that you're using, okay, you saw that Johnny Smith actually opened that email. But for you to give him a call and say, hey, man, because you saw that he opened it up. Hey, man, just want to, touch base with you, et cetera, et cetera. That's how you do it.
I would like to make phone calls to my database quarterly is what my plan is, but how often should an email go out? Maybe every holiday or season change or?
All right. So you brought up a very good point about us being afraid to ask for email agents as real estate professionals, as well as you talked about, people want to refer us, right? Our friends, our family, past customers that we've done business with, they want to refer us, especially if they had a good experience. Just like Miss Janet talked about, a lady referred 4 or 5 different nurses. If we don't stay top of mind, then they will not refer us because they don't know, like, or trust us. At that point, they won't refer us because we simply aren't in communication with them enough. So Keller Williams, Gary Keller wrote an outstanding book, excellent, called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. If you don't have it, definitely, guys, get a copy of that. But in that book, they broke it down. They talked about 32 touches for folks who have been in your database for a while, and then an initial 8 touch for folks who are just now entering your database. So my recommendation is to follow that, and to make it even simple, I would say once a week, because if you add up 8 plus 33, you're looking at 41. Well, hell, just throw another 11 times. Send them something once a week, once every other week. But here's the catch, though. You don't want to always just be talking about the market, right? You want to sprinkle it with some information that may be going on in the community, with some market updates, maybe a new restaurant that you and your wife just went to and you really enjoyed it, opened up. Talk to them about that kind of stuff.
All right.
What do you think? So, yeah, the more frequency, the better. So here's the book, The Real Estate Agent, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. I'm telling you, man, this is a great book. See if you can find it used by Gary Keller. But they talk about that in there. The number of touches, 33 and 8. So I say just do once a week. But bring folks some information, even like success tips. Like, hey, here, I'm working on eating better. Here's some tips that I found on the internet about, healthier living.
Right. Okay. They tell me that I should send out recipes, cooking recipes, actually. So apparently it's a little more interactive. I'm not sure yet, but we'll see.
Yeah. So here's a quick suggestion. Write down 2 or 3 different topics that are of interest to you, but that are generic to everyone. Things like saving money, eating better, healthier living, activities going on in the neighborhood, plus the real estate market. And just sprinkle your emails with conversation about those 3 or 4 different topics on a rotational basis. At the end of that email, the email should be 3 or 4, no more than 6 or 7 sentences, with maybe a link to another site, just a resource, as well as a call to action. Hey, if you know anyone who might be looking to buy or sell real estate in the next coming months or so, I'd love to have the opportunity to sit down, talk with them, answer any of their questions, free of charge, no obligation, period.
All right.
So appreciate you, sir. And so if you got any other questions, hit *6. We're going to go around here and see if we have anyone else who wants to chime in. Let's see here. We got a 0580. You're on with the Mo Show, 0580. Any questions on why you don't have a database? All right. Moving on. Hello, 0580. All right. Moving on to, let's see here. I think that's that. So, actually, Joe, I'm going to come back to you. I had another point that I wanted to make with you, Joe, about your email list. And it sounds like you're just at the point. You got folks lined up. Just go ahead and get started. Shoot out that first email today.
I'm going to try to do it tomorrow, just mainly because I don't want to screw up my first email. I'm going to have my relocation director help me with it. So,
okay,
it could be a pretty massive mistake if you screw up your first one to everybody. So,
that's why I say keep it simple, buddy. So you can't screw it up.
Yeah,
keep it
all
simple. Keep it simple. So cool. So with that being said, we're going to transition into the marketing hot seat of the day. Joe, since I got you on, do you have any other questions or issues that you want to ask and get some input on from the group in regards to marketing for your business?
I feel like if, I could spend all day long going to different meetups and different groups and different, everything. And everybody wants me to spend my money on different places, lead generation, marketing this, marketing that, farming, the list goes on and on. As a new agent, what do you have for me as for maybe some great tips on maybe what I should start with? I'm trying to learn my neighborhood as much as I can, my area. Denver's huge, so I can't, learn it all. But what do you suggest I do?
Man, you couldn't have laid this question up better for me. So I was going to talk about, at the end of the call, a growth hack database growth strategy that I recently got introduced to, as well as just recently did a webinar on, and this company is offering an exclusive discount to the Mo Show listeners, and this is what you need to do. So if you're looking online, I'm going to literally walk you through it, and I want you to give me the zip code of an area of town that you want to work on.
80002.
80002. All right, 8002. Offers.com is what's considered predictive marketing. Now, let me break this down for you guys in one simple, easy to understand sentence. It is like having night goggles so you can see past your competition. With Offers.com, you are able to get a list for homes in a particular territory, and they will statistically score that list. So I'm putting in 30002 for Joe.
80002.
And 80002. I got it. I did 3 because I'm in Atlanta, and 3 is the zip code for us. All right. So now, if you're looking, are you looking online with this, Joe?
Yep, I'm with you.
All right, so there's a little area, your part of town, looks fine, Highway 36, West 80th Avenue. I don't know if that's a particular part of town that you would want to chime in on, but I'm just going to click on there just to kind of show you. Now, this is a census tract, and in that census tract, they have 1,132 properties, right? Total prospect sellers. Offers.com has statistical data. They use 500 points of data gathered on homeowners everywhere from their own router all the way to public data information down at the courthouse. And they use that statistical data to say X number of, out of this 1,132 homes, 275 of those homes we think are going to sell in the next 12 months. Now, they take it even further. If you're looking online, they say accuracy of smart data. Based on their statistical formula, the homes that they scored for the previous 12 months, they were 100% accurate. Now, here's what this means. These are homes, this list of homes that you can get from offers are homes that have not gone on the market yet, but are statistically primed to go on the market. Statistics such as how long they've been in the home, how many children they have living in the home, economics, etc. And I can simply click here, view territory report, and it shows me the entire breakdown. So seller prospects scored over 70%. They have 275 homes that you can target with a postcard campaign, email campaign, because they will have email addresses for some of these homes, as well as, this sounds scary, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter profiles. We even have a picture of the home.
Information on the 275?
Yes, sir. And phone numbers, email addresses, and names of all in that entire list. Now, here's the thing. it's all public data. Your name, where you live, where you work, etc. At some point, you clicked on somebody's, click here to agree to our terms of agreement. And hell, you just wanted access to, X, Y, and Z. You didn't think your information was going to be sold, quote unquote, on the market. But your information exists, as well as just county courthouse records. Like when you bought your home, exists in the county courthouse. Well, that information is available. They've had statisticians crunch these data points to be able to deliver a list like this that you can buy for $150. I didn't stutter.
So do you have a membership to this site?
You can. You brought it up. I'll address it. This inspired me so much that I told you at one point I was licensed, and I honestly, I didn't enjoy the part of doing listing presentations, etc. But because I believe in so much of what we're doing in real estate success and trying to train you guys and educate and equip and inspire you to grow your business, I'm going to go get my real estate license, getting it this month, so I have it ready to go for January. And I'm going to use offers.com to start and to grow my team. Made the decision to join Keller Williams before I've even gotten my license. But I'm going to be using this personally. And this is a platform that's just coming out. And you can purchase this territory. Like I said, this list is $150 per month. You can purchase it with the MoShow discount code, and it'll save you 30% this week. And the savings still go on, but you definitely want to jump on it because they're making that discount available on a limited time. So did that answer your question where you should get started?
Yeah, I guess I would be curious to find out how many of these properties have email addresses and say phone numbers of that 275.
Gotcha.
You can. I can get their address anywhere, their name anywhere, where they work anywhere, but I think the actual phone number and email address is the most important thing, because then if you have that, then it's much easier to get a hold of expireds, and it's just a huge time saver.
Well, see, you miss what I'm saying. We're not talking about expires. We're talking about households who have not put their house on the market for sale.
Well, I know that, but also
okay.
if you can get email addresses and phone numbers, then you can get a hold of anybody.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then also, too, if you don't have the statistical data to back up the information that you're gathering, you'll be possibly you'll be wasting a lot of time, because they give you the list with those addresses scored. So it's not just, hey, 275 out of this 1,000. No, it's here's the contact information for the 1,175, plus here is highlighted in blue the 275 that we think are going to sell. And you can go, because you can go physically knock on that person's door, and they'll be like, well, damn, we kind of were thinking it was around that time for us to sell, but we hadn't talked to anybody yet. It's interesting that you talked to us. So that's the power that this data gives you.
All right.
And so I'm looking here. Let's see, the MoShow. Type in discount code. It went from $150 to $105. Now, this is something that I worked out with them on behalf of you guys. This is not an affiliate or anything like this. I don't get paid a nickel. This is just something that I worked out on you guys because I want to see our listeners, especially our folks who are involved, with the lab coat agents and real estate connections here in Atlanta, succeed. So check it out. All right, so we're going to swing around the room a little bit and want to see if anyone else has any other questions. If you got a question for me that you want to talk about, just hit *6 and I can bring you on to the call. We got a couple seconds here that I want to round out any marketing hot seat questions that you guys have. Let's see here. We got a 9899. 9899. You're on with the MoShow. Any questions on database offers?
Hey, Mike, it's me, Dave, on the West Coast in San Diego. How are you?
Hey, I am outstanding. I'm glad you chimed in. So to our listeners, Dave and I did a webinar on surveys, and I'm actually going to be laying that out at the end of this week, talking about database. Kind of plugged it in because the question came up, how do I ask people for this information? Yeah, simply do a survey. But Dave, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good, man. Doing good. We're going to have to talk online because you've been holding out on me. You didn't tell me about this until I just jumped online.
Dude, I just found out about this myself, and it was actually from one of our members at the Atlanta Symposium. She and I were having lunch, breaking bread, and I was talking about postcards and direct mail. And she was like, oh, yeah, I do postcards. I'm like, oh, cool. Where do you get your list from? She's like, offers.com. And she was like, yeah, I got a listing. I only spent $100. And I'm like, hold on. You got a listing. You made X, Y, and Z dollars. And you spent $100 on a list? She was like, yeah, I just started doing it a month ago. And I'm like, you got to give me the information. And this is it. What do you think of it, Dave?
I'm checking it out. I'm just caught in on the tail end, but I like what I've seen so far. I think the question that came up, how can we get the email and phone numbers? And, immediately I thought of, Cole Realty Resources. They could provide the emails and phone numbers if you have the address.
Yes.
And it's amazing what you get online. So, there's plenty of vendors out there that if you just have one shred of data about the prospect that you're looking for, they can extract what you need, like an email address or a phone number. Sometimes it's not accurate, but depending on the vendor, it could be as high as 75% accurate. So
absolutely.
So
a good starting point. It's a starting point.
Yeah, I think that missing piece that someone else brought up is critical. But I think with another vendor, you can get it.
Well, see here, the offers that as a part of their platform.
Oh, they
email
do?
addresses. Yeah. No, man, this is it's crazy. So if I was to purchase this list, and actually we did the webinar, and as a part of the replay of this call, we'll be attaching the link to the webinar that we did with offers. It's about an hour long, so you may want to carve out a little bit of time, but you can fast forward and get through it. But they actually show towards the end of the webinar, like the back office as if I had purchased the list. And it breaks down per record. It shows the score of the record. If they scored over 70% to be statistically set up and primed to sell within the next 12 months, as well as it'll give the property address, owner name, the picture of the property, from the link to Google Earth, where you can literally go down the street where the property exists, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, where you could just click because they have the link right next to their name. You click it, and it will take you to Facebook if it was available. The phone number, everything, all on one setup, all on one platform.
All right.
And
I'll have to take
Now, I do know that at one point we had a setup with Cole Realty Resources. Do you know if that's still going on with lab coats?
It's still going on.
How do folks get in contact with that? Because, at the end of the day, it's really about having the strategy and having the information. So offers may not necessarily be the right strategy. Maybe you already have a list, so it may not make sense. And you may just want to be able to tap into that list a little bit further. So how would folks get hooked up through the lab coats Cole Resources setup?
Probably two ways. One way would be through the Facebook group. If you go to the group page on Facebook and search Cole Realty Resources, you'll see a ton of posts of agents, me, you, everybody talking about them, and then you'll also see the direct link to Cole Realty Sources with whatever discount that we have going on, and then we have our labcoatagents.com website that has the info on there as well. And then over the next week or two, we're going to have some really nice comparison charts that people can kind of look and see, okay, there's 4 vendors that do this, and then we'll have some, itemized lists as far as what each one does, and they'll be able to compare it side by side.
Yep. And see, that's the beauty of lab coats, and that's why I really am proud and happy to be an admin over there. We really want you guys to succeed. So, we bring tools to you, bring resources to you, give you some information so you can make an intelligent choice for your own individual business. But at the end of the day, we really want to see real estate agents succeed, and we're trying to do the best that we can to make it plain and simple for you guys. So, David, did you have anything else you wanted to add and throw in on there?
Well, I mean, I love sharing the information, but more importantly, I'm a real estate agent myself, so I'm out in it to sell property myself, and so I mean, I'm looking for product or tools that help me sell property. And then,
Absolutely.
the added bonus is I could share it, hopefully, with someone not in my territory, outside my territory. But, there's plenty of stuff out there.
Absolutely. So, all right, guys. So, David, I'm going to go ahead and we'll catch up offline. But before we get off, I want to see if anyone else has any other questions. Hit *6. I'll see you raise your hand. And before we get off the call here. So, guys, with that being said, I want to appreciate you for joining the Mo Show, the Free Marketing Tuesdays. Definitely a great episode. You got to get a database for your real estate business so that you can have a place to simply store all this great contact information that you're going to be using to follow up with your prospects. As we went through the example with Miss Janet Nation, one person that she simply just kept the contact information for in her database yielded her over $40,000 in commission. You think about that. Some people don't make $40,000 in a year from going to work 5 days a week. She was able to generate $40,000 in commission simply by just keeping one person's name, telephone number, email address, etc. So that is the power of a database. Again, I want to definitely encourage you guys to join Lab Coat Agents if you have not. In my opinion, and I hope David can back me up on this, the best real estate group on Facebook and soon to be in the world. They're definitely doing a lot of great things. I'm proud to be a part of it. As a moderator, definitely check out our Facebook group, Real Estate Success, as well as for Atlanta agents, the Facebook group Real Estate Connections. Check out offers.com. With the awesome discount that we have going on. We'll be talking about more later on this week. And remember, guys, that today is the only day that you have, not only in your real estate business, but in your life. And remember to simply make the best of it and be grateful. So I'm your host, Mo, coming to you with another edition of Free Marketing Tuesdays. Go out and make today a great one. Talk to you next time.